So the NFL basically just made a chess move and put the light on the players to show if they are sensitive to this situation, if they care about the players, the league, the fans, and this quote unquote pandemic and whatnot. Because the way that the COVID-19 breakout interrupted last year's season with rescheduling games, with players having to miss games with the protocols, having to schedule a game for a Tuesday night, Wednesday night. You had a situation to where Denver had to play a game with their like fourth or fifth string quarterback. Who wants to watch that shit? You know what I'm saying? So they put the light on the players now to where it's like if there's a breakout that was caused by unvaccinated players and they can't reschedule that game, nobody's getting paid. There's going to be penalties and whatnot, basically forcing their hand to get this jab. So you had DeAndre Hopkins put out a tweet. He deleted it. It said freedom, question mark. You know what I mean? Send out some tweets for shock value. Give us something to talk about. But is he really going to retire? I don't think so. But besides DeAndre, the only other person that you're hearing speak out against this is Cole Beasley. But nobody wants to talk about Cole Beasley because he's not a quote unquote superstar. But the thing is this, more players are going to have to speak out if it's really a problem. So it's on NFL Live right now. They're going to talk about it because obviously they ruffle some feathers because it's going against the society norm because they're trying to push everybody to get this jab.
If a game is canceled due to an outbreak among unvaccinated players and cannot be rescheduled, it will be forfeited, with the team responsible for the outbreak being charged with a loss. Also, if a game is canceled, players on both teams will not receive their game checks for that week. And if you're vaccinated, you can return after you test negative twice. After a positive test, you can return after testing negative twice, whereas if you're unvaccinated, it's like last year where you still have to miss at least 10 days. This is not going over universally well among the players. Star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins of Arizona tweeting, "Never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine, it's making me question my future in the NFL." So, Lewis, thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think my issue with this, as far as people overall and their unwillingness to want to protect themselves and protect others, is this. Look, I'm a staunch believer in this science, and I'm a staunch believer in trusting people that have proven themselves to be credible to me as far as giving me sound medical advice all throughout my life. And I have leaned on some of those people in this instance when it comes to the decision to get vaccinated or get my family vaccinated and trying to protect them and protect myself. And they have presented me with credible scientific information as to the benefits and the risk versus reward, of getting vaccinated. On the flip side, when it comes to people who have decided not to get vaccinated from a scientific standpoint, the thing that I always have my ear to the ground in terms of trying to listen for is what is the scientifically backed reasoning as to why people are reluctant to get vaccinated, and what do they feel as though is not worth the risk of getting vaccinated. It's just not worth it to them. And that's something that I have failed to really at this point in time really hear laid out for me. And look, obviously it comes down to personal choice and everybody has their reasons as to why they do or don't do it. But look, obviously right now the league is incentivizing players to make sure that they try and protect themselves and protect their teammates. And if not, if something goes wrong, it's going to cost them and they're going to have to suffer the consequences. And look, I don't necessarily see a problem with that. I really don't. I understand it puts some players in uncomfortable situations, and every player will react differently to this. I just haven't heard a compelling argument on the flip side as to why people don't want to get vaccinated in that regard.
They always got to put the house Negro on the platform to question the field Negro's thoughts and beliefs and whatnot. He want to talk about his unwillingness to protect himself and others, but you don't hear them talking about their unwillingness to protect themselves when they're on the football field. They don't talk about the studies about CTE and the concussions and how your skull isn't meant to take that contact like that, how your brain shifts around in your skull like that. They don't want to talk about these things. We want to talk about a jab to where you have a 99.9% recovery rate. That's if you're taking care of yourself. That's if you don't have pre-existing health conditions. But they always have the house Negroes up there to question the thoughts. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about science, all these questions. Why does he feel like this? Why do you feel so strong? Are you so easily persuaded to do something because it sounds good to you? Because you're scared? because you want to believe everything that they want to tell you, man, it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think part of that, Lou, is probably people probably don't feel like they need to tell people why they're not getting vaccinated. But I would say this. I think what this does, DeAndre Hopkins' reaction, as well as some other players' reaction, gives you a glimpse into a little bit when numbers are released about 85% of these teams are vaccinated or have reached an 85% threshold at a time when roster sizes are 90 players. Those numbers really don't matter, and they really shouldn't matter all that much to the NFL from the standpoint of if it's the 5 guys that truly mean something to a franchise. Like, we all know that there's basically 5 stars on every team. Everybody else is just kind of a piece of the puzzle that is replaceable with somebody else on someone else's roster that gets cut. But there are 5 stars. Well, if the stars aren't getting vaccinated, then the NFL's got a little bit of a problem. And so this is a bit of a glimpse. This isn't Cole Beasley saying that he's not getting vaccinated. This is DeAndre Hopkins. And so I think now when you start to see this, those percentage numbers start to mean less and less to the NFL.
Yeah, I don't see the NFL budging on this anytime soon. They've been pretty strong in their belief that this is the way to go. So,
well, that's why you got a players union to stand up against shit like this. If shit doesn't sit right with the players, that's why you have a union. That's why there are unions and a good amount of workforces in America to battle bullshit in your workplace. That pretty much sums it up, though. If players don't stand up against this, then it is what it is with the rulings. And if there's a breakout, that's going to fuck up money. That's going to fuck up fantasy. That's going to fuck up fans' emotions because they have nothing else to do. But is DeAndre Hopkins going to retire? Probably not, man. Just like Aaron Rodgers, he's back in Green Bay. DeAndre Hopkins, he's going to be back out there in training camp. But when it comes down to it, man, ESPN, they got Jason Williams that works on their network, got both doses of the jab, and he just tested positive not too long ago because he had to miss finals coverage because he tested positive for COVID. And he has both doses, just to throw that out there. And then they're on NFL Live talking like this. But it is what it is, man. Let me know what y'all think. It's enough of that. I'm out.